Hi everyone. I enjoy going live, guys. You guys have made it fun to go live. So I'm going to do this a little bit more often. I'm finding excuses to go live now. But like I said, I'm introducing some few things that I'm going to only be doing on my live, such as boxing versus MMA. Obviously, my final predictions for fight nights and pay-per-views. And of course, topics that I find truly interesting. I want to do also a video where I highlight some of the most informative YouTubers because for me, it's largely about benefiting you guys because I think if you have this type of information, then I think it'll probably benefit you. Because for example, there was this video, I think it was MMA on point, yeah. I think MMA on point made this incredible video whereby they were calculating, and they explain how they calculated these particular numbers. They calculate exactly the age of decline for fighters. I don't know if I should tell you if it's a spoiler, but nonetheless, I think a lot of people already know this. So at championship level, so when people are competing at championship level within the UFC, the decline is at the age of 33. That's when he shows you even the statistics of actually are able to not defend their belts and stuff like that. And then for non-champions, it's like 34 years. So this is going to be a separate video that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be recommending things like this to you because I think they're going to be useful, especially if you are interested in my channel, which is about statistics. I think you like that particular video. But let me focus on what this video is about, which is pound for pound rankings, right? I'm going to go through all the pound for pound rankings and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on all the rankings, right? And what I think I initially wanted to do only for the men, but I think maybe I should do them all. Let's start with the men's pound for pound rankings. At number 15, we have Aljamain Sterling. He dropped down, I think, 3 spots. So before this, he was at number 13. At number 14, we have Max Holloway. He's always been at number 14. That hasn't changed. At number 13, we have Sean Strickland. He dropped down 2 spots. He was at, I think, about 11 before, obviously after losing to Dricus du Plessis. At number 12, we have Tom Aspinall. He's always been that at that point, he never dropped. At number 11, we have Israel Adesanya. He dropped 1 spot. At number 10, we have Alexandra Pantoja. He dropped 1 spot for some reason, even though he's still the champion. Um, at number 9, we have Dricus du Plessis. He dropped 1 spot for some reason. I don't know why. At number 8, we have Sean O'Malley. Wow. Okay. Apparently, Sean O'Malley is on the pound for pound rankings. I love the guy, but I'll give my thoughts on that. Let me just go through this list. At number 8, yes, we have Sean O'Malley. He dropped down 1 spot. At number 7, we have Alexander Volkanovski. He dropped down 4 spots, which means he was at around number 3 before this. At number 6, we have Charles Oliveira. At number 5, the new entrant, we have Ilia Topuria. At number 4, we have Alex Pereira, who climbed up 1 spot. At number 3, we have Leon Edwards, who climbed up 1 spot. At number 2, we have John Jones. And of course, at number 1, we have Islam Makhachev. Before I give you my thoughts, let me first go to the women's pound for pound rankings. But I don't know if I should. Okay, let me just go through the women's pound for pound rankings as well. Um, I just before I give you my thoughts on them, so that I have gone through all of them. But it's honestly crazy that what do you call him? Aljamain, what do you call him? Sean O'Malley, I mean. That Sean O'Malley is actually in the rankings for pound. Um, Especially considering the fact that the guy is choosing his fights. I'm a fan of Sean O'Malley, but I don't like the fact that the guy is actually in a position whereby he's able to actually say, I'm fighting this particular person and I'm not fighting this particular person, because according to my knowledge, pound for pound referred to on any given day. This is my definition and my understanding of pound for pound rankings. Hey yo, what's up, man? Pound for pound rankings are on any given day. If the two people were the same. What do you call it? Weight. If two people were the same, basically the same weight, and if they fought, that particular person, the pound for pound best, would most likely win. But before I get to that particular point, let's go through the pound for pound rankings for women. Okay, yeah, here they are. At number 15, we have Mayra Bueno Silva. I don't know why she's even on this list. How, or is it because the women's MMA division is not that deep, so they have to just put anyone in there? At number 14, we have, when you're posting the new videos for Brendan versus Royval. My predictions, I normally do my predictions. I'm assuming you're speaking about final predictions, my live predictions. I put them on Friday. But as far as predictions, so far I post the shorts every single Saturday, so a week before the actual card. So if you want to see my predictions so far, you can go to the shorts section of the channel. But my final official predictions live will be happening on Friday. But let me get back to this video. At number 14, we have Irene Aldana. These are the pound for pound rankings for females, right? At number 14, we have Irene Aldana. At number 13, we have Caitlin Vieira. At number 12, we have Amanda Lemos. At number 11, we have Jessica Andrade. Pick up my G, Leona Edwards. Yeah, how are you doing, man? At number 10, we have Yan Xiaonan. At number 9, we have Tatiana Suarez. Okay, sweet. I watched those shorts before every day card. Okay, thank you, bro. Thank you for the compliments. I want to go through these rankings, and I'll try to respond to every single comment once I'm done. Um, at number 9, we have Tatiana Suarez. She should be higher. At number 8, we have Rose Namajunas. Good morning, Ray. At number 7, we have Raquel Pennington. We have at number 7, Raquel Pennington is in the pound for pound rankings and is ranked at number 7, guys. She's the champion, women's MMA. Manon Fiorot is at number 6, which I honestly don't know why she should be higher. Her as well as what do you call her? Maybe Yan Xiaonan should be higher. Tatiana Suarez should be higher. Erin Blanfield, sorry about that. At number 5, we have Juliana Pena. At number 4, we have Erin Blanchfield. At number 3, we have Valentina Shevchenko. At number 2, we have Zhang Wei Li. And at number 1, we have Alexa Grasso. I wanted to go through all the pound for pound rankings for both females and males, but it's kind of hard in this particular situation because I don't feel like there's a lot of people who deserve to be in these rankings on the women's side. Because, okay, for me personally, I don't feel like there's a lot. Maybe let me rearrange it, right? Yeah, let me start with the females pound for pound rankings. Hopefully my internet is working out well because I feel like I see a bit of struggle, but nonetheless, Alexa Grasso, I don't know, man. She's the champion, and she fought. I think she beat Valentina Shevchenko, who is currently who was ranked number one pound for pound, right? So it makes sense why she is in the rankings, and I can understand that. But I don't know if she should be number one, right? So I'd say my number one would be pound for pound ranking. Number one would be Zhang Weili. Number two, um, okay, Alexa Grasso would be number two. Um, okay, Aaron Blanchfield deserves would be number three. Um, maybe Valentina Shevchenko would be number four. Um, Juliana Pena, I don't know, man. Um, maybe followed by I'll only do top five because I don't know if or maybe top 10. Let me just do top 10. I'm not going to go any further than that. At number four, it's Valentina Shevchenko, and then at number five, I'd put Tatiana Suarez, and at number six, yeah, maybe Juliana Pena. At number Okay, Manon Fiorot should be before Juliana Pena. And then at number, which number am I at? At number seven, I'd say Rose Namajunas. At number eight, this division, guys. I've done all I can for this particular pound for pound. Let me go back to the men's pound for pound rankings. So essentially, what I was basically saying about these rankings is that I feel like people are hopping on. I'm talking about the men's pound for pound rankings, right? I think a lot of people have a problem with Islam Makhachev being number one as opposed to John Jones. This is what I wanted to talk about essentially. I'll get to Sean O'Malley. I think the problem here is that how many times has John Jones fought within the last 4 years? He's fought, I think, once. If I'm not mistaken, John Jones has fought, I think, once. I think people are confused in the fact that John Jones is. I feel like Rose should be lower. Yeah, because she's been losing fights. How are you doing, Gustavo? Because Rose has been losing fights, I get it, but I feel like maybe I'm ranking based on skills and achievement, and there are certain people who are ranked in that particular list that I don't feel like they should even be there. I mean, like Bueno Silva is on the pound for pound rankings. Like, why? Why? But back to Islam Makhachev. People have been complaining about his position being number one, and they feel like obviously John Jones is the GOAT. And I don't think anyone is disputing that. I think the problem is people confusing. Um, People are confusing John Jones' GOAT status with him being pound for pound at current pound for pound. When we say current, we mean active fighters, guys. Can't put Islam over the GOAT. Okay, I know that's basically what I'm trying to explain. Pound for pound, current pound for pound means an active fighter. John Jones is not an active fighter. He's had one fight in the last, I don't know, 4 years if I'm not mistaken. So we can't really say John Jones is the current pound for pound best fighter in the UFC when he's only had one fight in the UFC. So that's why I feel like Islam Makhachev deserves his spot as number one. Number two, I'm not going to argue John Jones because I feel like even with his one activity, he deserves to be a little bit a little bit higher on the list. And then Leon Edwards, this is another dude that people are complaining about his ranking, which I don't really understand because Leon Edwards is on a 12 fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken, or an 11 fight win streak. I think he's one of the few people who's close behind Islam Makhachev. Um, Back to Islam, I forgot to mention that people have been complaining about who has he beaten. Keep in mind that when Islam Makhachev beat Alexander Volkanovski, he was ranked number one pound for pound. when he beat Charles Oliveira was ranked number 2 pound for pound. When he beat Alexander Volkanovski the second time, Volkanovski was ranked, I think, about 10, no, not 10. I think it's the last three fights. Islam Makhachev beat the number 2 ranked pound for pound champion. We're not talking about normal contenders. He beat the number um, one, or rather the second ranked pound for pound fighter, and then he went on to beat the number one. So I don't, and this in the process ending streaks that I think Alexander Volkanovski was on a 10 fight win streak, right? If I'm not mistaken. And Charles Oliveira was on an 11 fight. So over 20. So it was, he ended as like streaks, combined streaks in his last three defenses, or rather last three championship fights. He ended over an 20 something fight win streak spot. And we're talking about current. We're not talking about all time. All time, I even made a list on my channel ranking the best fighters of all time from 20 up until number one. And John Jones, obviously, because they are boxers and all those type of things. But John Jones, in terms of MMA, there's no dispute that he's the greatest of all time in MMA, right? And in fighting, in the combat sports, in general, right? So no one is disputing that. The problem here, we're talking current, and we can't reference Anderson Silva because he's not also like he's not even active anymore, right? But there was a point whereby Anderson Silva was the current pound for pound best. Why? Because he was still active, and I think that's the problem that people don't understand is that when we're talking about current, we're talking about someone who's active. Who else? Ilya Taporia. I think Sean O'Malley shouldn't be on this list, man. I don't feel like he's beaten anyone who makes it worthy for him to be on this list. Um, but yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say about. Got me watching cage fighting in 2005. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Because at that point, I used to see highlights, and it was so cool. I'm from South Africa, so some of the things I started getting live streaming from like the live UFC streaming in South Africa. I think about 2 to 3 years ago. So before that, we didn't have any live. Forget about Sean. Yeah, for years we didn't have a UFC in South Africa. So it started about 2 to 3 years ago. So before then, I couldn't watch the UFC. I could only see highlights. Um, wow. Okay, that's awesome, man. How are you doing, man? So yeah, we didn't have any UFC viewing, so I would see only highlights. So I couldn't actually become a fan of the sport up until around 2020. 2020, 2019, that's when I started to watch MMA, specifically the UFC. So I couldn't actually fall in love with it up until then. Since you're from South Africa, don't you think Drake should be higher on the list? I don't know. For me, I wouldn't place someone on the list. I prefer to not use my personal feelings to determine merit or anything like that, or because someone is from my home country that they should receive any type of special treatment. I believe in working hard to get to a certain point. So with that being said, Drikas is on a streak. He's beating talented people, but I don't know if he should be higher. So if you look at, for example, Ilya Tuporia beat the number third ranked pound for pound fighter. So that makes sense why he's number five. Obviously, I wouldn't agree with him taking Alexander Volkanovski's spot because there are people who are on longer streaks than him in the UFC. People like Leon Edwards, people like Islam Makhachev, even Alex Pereira. I'm struggling with him being number four, largely because he is I think 2-1 in his last three fights. So for me, I feel like when we talk about pound for pound fighters, we are talking about people who will win at any given time if everyone was the same but again weight class. So for someone to be 2-1 in their past three fights and got knocked out in that one loss. I don't know if they should be at number 4. So for me, back to Dricus du Plessis, I think he is good, but I think you should be higher depending on who you beat, right? That's why I was making the example of Islam Makhachev at the beginning of or when when I was starting to speak about the pound for pound rankings. That Islam Makhachev in his last three fights, right? They were all championship fights, right? And he beat the number 2 ranked pound for pound fighter who was on an 11 pound ranked fighter who was on a 10 fight win streak. And then he beat once again the number 3rd ranked pound people were champions in his last 3 fights. So it's no argument, and he's on a 12 fight win streak. So it's difficult to argue that he doesn't deserve to be number 1 based on the people that he's beaten. Dricus du Plessis, he beat Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland didn't even defend his belt, so he didn't beat the most formidable champion. Sean Strickland is a talented fighter, right? But he wasn't dominant. So if for Alex Pereira, so you remember Alex Pereira, when Alex Pereira beat Israel Adesanya, he was justified in jumping into the top 5. Why? Because he beat a dominant champion. When Leon Edwards beat Kamaru Usman, it was justified for him to jump the rankings because he beat a dominant champion. But for me, if ever you just won a title from someone who didn't even defend that belt, it shouldn't give you the right to actually be within the any higher in the rankings. Lucas is the highest ranked middleweight, so what can make him go higher? I think what can make Dricus go higher on the rankings would be to build up a streak, because obviously for me personally it's not even just a personal thing. Pound for pound means you can beat everyone. If they can make your weight, then you can beat them. So because he didn't take the belt from a dominant champion, then the only other way for him to actually climb the rankings in the pound for pound rankings would be for him to be a dominant champion. It doesn't even have to be finishes. He just has to continue to win. Even if he gets decisions, for me personally, it comes down to, are you winning? It's not necessarily about finishing. So if Dricus du Plessis manages to maybe go on, I don't know, 7 more title defenses, then we are speaking about him in the top 5, at least. That's how I think you should be able to climb into the rankings, because the very definition of pound for pound is that you shouldn't be losing. John Jones is a perfect example of that. That's why I didn't even argue the part of him being in the list. But look at the top 3, which justifies or further explains what I'm saying. The top 3, Islam Makhachev, on a 13-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. John Jones, I think, is on a 18-fight win streak since, basically, let's just say that. It's an 18-fight win streak or 19, whatever, since that one BS loss, I think. He's on a 16-fight win streak or something like that. Leon Edwards, he's on an 11-fight win streak. And then comes Alex Pereira. He's won 2 fights. So for me, that's why I was saying, for me, it's about being a long reigning champion or becoming a champion after being dominant. Ilia Tuporia is undefeated. So, in my opinion, because of that element of never having been beaten, never having lost a fight, I think he should be higher than Alex Pereira. Ilia Tuporia should be at number 4 because Alex has won 2 fights of his last 3 fights. And like I said before, he got knocked out. So I don't think he should be above someone who's undefeated and who's a champion that knocked out a dominant champion, which are the criteria for me to actually classify someone as a pound-for-pound fighter. within the top five. For me, if you want to be in the top five, you have to be a dominant champion. You have to either be on a long streak or to be undefeated, which Ilya Tuporia qualifies for. So I think he should be higher. Who else? Sean O'Malley. It's exhausting that Sean O'Malley is on this list because he's not. I don't consider him to be one of the best. He's an incredible fighter, but we will never know because he is publicly admitting to be afraid of certain fighters. So, for example, he said he would never move up to to featherweight because he knows Alexander Volkanovski will probably beat his ass. So, how can you put someone like that on the pound for pound list? Someone who outrightly avoided people who were properly supposed to fight for title fights. For example, Merab is on like a 10 fight win streak now. He skipped over there to go to Cheeto, who I don't have a problem with, but the guy has only won, I think, one fight. Like he lost the fight before his last fight. So how do you give someone like that and you skip over someone who's on a 9 fight win streak? So it's people like Evloev should be replacing people like on this list. Let me see. Who should be on this list? It's it's hard for me to actually even say Alexander Pantoja deserves this because I don't know. He's not dominant, but at the very least, he's been winning fights. There was talks of Ilya and O'Malley fighting recently. I'm not a fan of that, man. Like, I don't think O'Malley and Topuria should fight. Number one, I think Topuria would knock out O'Malley. Number two, I feel like it undermines the championship, that the champion that loses. Whoever is that, for example, the way Alexander Volkanovski lost to Islam Makhachev, it makes the lightweight belt that much more impressive, and it makes the featherweight belt feel like it's not a real championship. I don't have a problem with people moving up if they've been dominant champions, but if in the case of Ilya and Sean O'Malley, I don't really agree because it's not exciting. The exciting part about a fight is not knowing who's going to win, right? And the first Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev fight, it was exciting, even though both of them were not necessarily big. Because if you remember, Alexander Volkanovski never headlined any pay-per-view up until he fought Islam Makhachev because he wasn't that popular up until that point. Um, because of the fact that we didn't know who was going to win, it made the fight so much bigger because it's the pound for pound number one versus the pound for pound number two. One is on a 10 fight win streak, one is on an 11 fight win streak. One just came off beating the number two ranked pound for pound fighter. The other has been dominant in his division and is beating up people like nobody's business. So it was exciting to think who's going to win. In this situation, if Ilya and what do you call him, O'Malley fight, it's not as exciting. I love both fighters, but I want to be excited. But so for me, it will feel like a normal defense. The level of excitement that I'll have will be for a normal defense. You won't be nervous. I don't know if you guys have experienced that feeling of watching a fight and being extremely nervous about it and be like, "Damn it, I don't know who's going to win." That usually happens when Chimaev is fighting, because like there's so much emotion that overcomes you, especially the Burns versus Chimaev, and even also the Usman versus Chimaev fight, because the feeling of is Chimaev going to lose that? Oh, is the hype going to? And those questions make the fight exciting. So when you get two people who haven't really done much, because on one hand, I don't think anyone will believe that Sean O'Malley is going to beat Ilya Tuporia. That's number one. So automatically, the excitement is gone. No one is going to. Obviously, we're going to watch. It's champion versus champion, but I feel like the UFC would lose money rushing that fight because the exciting element about champion versus champion is who's going to win. But in this case, we more or less already know who's going to win, right? I hope my internet looks like it's giving me problems. Let me reply to your emails, your text. What do you think about Paddy versus Tim? Is it Tim? Is Paddy fighting Tim Elliott? I wasn't really aware of that. I honestly don't think Paddy Pimblett is talented, right? I also feel that way. I thought Ian Gary was talented. Even though I picked him to win, I didn't like the fight that I was watching, right? But the thing is, people can improve, or maybe he fought that way because he was fighting a very dangerous and powerful fighter. But the same person, the same fighter, fought Shavkat Rachmanov. Rachmanov is not primarily a striker. Rachmanov is Rachmanov is a grabber. I think he's well-rounded, but he's known for submissions for the most part. So if ever Rachmanov can put on a fight like that, and he's not primarily a striker, but Ian Gary is primarily a striker and he fights like that, then it's a little bit problematic for me. I don't feel like you're as talented as I thought you were. Back to Paddy Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett struggling against Tony Ferguson. I already had my doubts about him being a talented fighter, but him struggling against Tony Ferguson confirmed what I was thinking all along, and that he is not as talented as I didn't. His initial fights, obviously, when you're fighting cans, you're going to seem like you are a world beater. But when you start to fight people on your level, that's when we see how talented you are. So far, Paddy is not even fighting people in the rankings, right? And he's already struggling. So, and Tim Elliott, I've been underestimating him. I don't know, man. I don't know if Paddy Pimblett is going to win that particular fight. I haven't. I usually do my analysis before making this type of predictions, but based on Paddy's last performance, if you are performing like that against Tony Ferguson, the guy is old and all those stuff. And I understand that Tony is not an average fighter. He used to be on a massive streak. He used to be the boogeyman of the division. But Tony, as he is today, shouldn't be making anyone struggle as much as Paddy did. I mean, even Nate finished Tony Ferguson, and I know it was on short notice, but nonetheless, he finished. Sorry, guys. It seems like my network is giving problems, so I'll see you guys tomorrow when I do my official predictions for UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Royval. I'm really excited about that one. I'm also super excited about UFC 299. Breaking down that fight, that fight card is going to be incredible. I want to try and do. I wanted to do these videos whereby like I do promotion videos, right? But with my voiceovers. If you've seen some of my videos on my channel, you know what I'm talking about. I wanted to do these type of videos whereby I tell a story, in a documentary like format in order to promote fights. But because I have a day job and I'm doing this channel on my own, it's kind of challenging to do that. Even now, I'm talking to you guys and I have to research and prepare for tomorrow. But I enjoy talking to you. Just that my internet is just giving me issues. So I was planning on doing those documentary style videos, but because I don't have enough time, I think I'll try to implement those type of things on my live videos, and I'll hear what do you guys think about them. But I think for now I have to go do my research, a little bit more research, so that I can give you as much information as possible on the coming fight card. Caleb Richards, do you think Merab deserves a title shot immediately after the winner of UFC 299? Yeah, definitely. Merab is on a 10 fight win streak. I think he deserved the title without fighting Henry Cejudo. I didn't think he would beat Henry Cejudo because I felt like Henry Cejudo had striking, Henry Cejudo had grappling, and I felt like Merab did not have striking. And because of Merab's relentlessness, Cejudo would be able to catch him on entries, but I guess I was wrong because Cejudo didn't seem like he had cardio. Because what I thought would happen happened in the first round. Cejudo cracked him, but ever since the first round, that was it. From that point, Merab took over. So Merab has beaten three former champions, right? And then on top of beating three former champions, he's on a 10 fight win streak, which is crazy for me because let's say Merab becomes a champion and retires after two title defenses, people are going to be blaming him, like, oh, he hasn't fought anyone. But it's like Habib and Islam Makhachev. It's not their fault that they didn't get the opportunity early, like people like Pereira, who got the shot with I don't know 3 fights in the UFC. Imagine if someone like Mirab or Habib or Islam or Hamza had the opportunity to fight for the title early in their career. Imagine the legacy they could have left because they have so many wins and they're undefeated. But because it took them so long to get to the title, it it might give us only a couple of defenses, which will seem like, oh my God, he ran away, because there's still this narrative that Habib Nurmagomedov ran away, right? He was afraid of certain people, which is crazy because when I began this stream, I actually mentioned that I want to do a YouTube video whereby I give you guys, I tell you about the most useful videos on YouTube. One of which is the age of decline of fighters. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, which was made by MMA On Point. So I want to list a couple of channels that are useful. They don't even know that I'm doing this. I'm doing it for you guys because I feel like it's going to be useful information, especially if you are if you are analyzing statistics, and obviously if you're spending your money on these type of things, then you should know this. So they actually did research, they compiled all the fights and honed in on specific things. So for now, I will recommend you watch The Age of Decline on MMA On Point. That video has so much incredible information. I enjoyed watching it, and especially because you guys are on a statistics channel, then I'm 100% sure that you're going to enjoy that particular video. I appreciate you guys, especially the two of you who stuck around and watched me. One of them, I don't know who I'm thinking just left. Anyway, I appreciate every single person who stays online with me when I'm live. Even though there were like 65 people, obviously some of them left. So I always love communicating, and I appreciate you all that were asking me questions. Caleb, Ray Diamond, yeah, it was largely Caleb and Ray Diamond who were asking a lot of questions, and I appreciate that because it allowed me to stay longer on the stream and to talk to you. Gustavo, thank you. Thank you for commenting. Yeah, man, Ray Diamond and Caleb have been doing the most. I appreciate you guys. Yes, sir. I'll subscribe. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you on the comment section. I also reply to every single comment. So even if we're not talking on my live, I usually reply to every single comment on my channel because I enjoy interacting with all of you. So I love talking to you on the live, but I also make time to actually respond to every comment. Even though I get like over 1,000 comments in a week. I make time to sit down and reply to all of you guys because I appreciate you. So I'll see you tomorrow, man. Caleb, I appreciate you staying online. Let's talk tomorrow in the comment sections. Deuces.